A very good day to everyone present here. My name is Gayathri A and I belong to the Department of BA Criminology and Police Administration. Today, my project is about LGBT. LGBT is an initialism that stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender. In use since the 1990s, the initialism, as well as some of its common variants, functions as an umbrella term for sexuality and gender identity. A 6 rainbow flag representing the LGBT refer to anyone who is non-heterosexual or non-cis gender instead of exclusively to people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual or transgender. To recognize this inclusion, a popular variant LGBTQ adds the letter Q for those who identify as queer or questioning their sexual or gender identity. LGBT activists and artists have created posters to raise consciousness about the issue since the movement began. History about LGBT.
It's the 10th of December 1948 and the UN General Assembly adopts the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It states that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Yet fast forward to 2011 and the UN Human Rights Council expresses grave concern at acts of violence and discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. All over the world, lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender or LGBT people are still being subjected to discrimination and acts of brutal violence, torture, kidnapping, even murder. In 76 countries, same-sex relationships are criminalized in violation of basic rights. These abuses must end. The tide is turning. Since 1990, almost 40 countries have legalized same-sex relationships. Many more have lawfully banned discrimination against LGBT people. More and more countries now recognize the urgency and are pressing for action at the UN. In the past 4 years, this has led to the first adopted UN resolution on the issue, the first official UN report, and the first formal intergovernmental debate at the UN Human Rights Council. On the 26th of July 2013, the UN launched Free and Equal, a global campaign designed to raise awareness of homophobic and transphobic violence and discrimination, and to help stop millions of LGBT people being abused for being who they are. We must protect the basic human rights of LGBT people. But it doesn't just require changes in laws and policies. It takes changes in people's hearts and minds. Like the struggle against racism, like the struggle for gender equality, the struggle for LGBT equality will only be won if we join together, if we speak out, if we stand in the defense of the rights of others. The time to do this is now. Together we can stop violence and discrimination against LGBT people. Together we can build a world that is free and equal.
Protest done against making LGBT legal. Gays Against Guns, Civil Obedience Campaign to target gun companies. On August 15, 2016, hundreds of gay activists will begin a campaign of civil disobedience and direct action against gun companies and their supporters on Monday to demand an end to the epidemic of gun violence blighting the US. Members of Gays Against Guns, a group formed in the wake of massacre of 49 people at the Pulse Gay nightclub in Orlando earlier this summer, said that they would no longer stand by and watch the gun industry profit from death. In January 2017, prior to Trump's inauguration, Work for Peace organized a dance party outside the house of Vice President-elect Mike Pence. The event was attended by few hundred LGBTQ+ and allies. India's LGBT community joined citizenship law protest. People participate in a protest against Citizen Amendment Act in Mumbai, India on Wednesday, January 1, 2020. New Delhi, more than 1,000 members of India's LGBTQ community rights group and the supporters marched through the streets of capital on Friday to protest a citizenship law that excludes Muslims. Describing themselves as citizens against boycotts, they carried placards and shouted slogans accusing Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government of pursuing policies aimed at forcing people to prove their citizenship and putting people from marginalized communities at risk. India's main opposition parties, led by the Congress Party, says that the Modi government is trying to consolidate its Hindu base, which constitutes more than 80% of India's 1.3 billion people. Muslims comprise nearly 14% of population. The new citizenship law and a proposed national register of citizens has brought thousands of protesters out in the streets in many cities and towns since the parliament approved the measure on December 11, leaving at least 23 deaths in clashes between the security forces and protesters. The law allows Hindus, Christians, and other religious minorities who are illegal to become citizens if they can show they were persecuted because of their religion in Muslim majority Bangladesh, Pakistan, Afghanistan. It does not apply to Muslims. Thousands of Hindus too have joined the protest to assure minority Muslims that they are not isolated. The governing Hindu Nationalist Party downplays the protest, saying that they are ostracised by the opponents. Provisions and bills passed by the state to support LGBT. Transgender rights in Tamil Nadu and LGBT rights in Kerala. Transgender rights. The states of Tamil Nadu and Kerala were the first Indian states to introduce a transgender welfare policy. According to the policy, transgender people can access free sex reassignment surgery (SRS) in the government hospitals, free housing, various citizenship documents, admission in government colleges with full scholarship for higher studies, alternative sources of livelihood through the formation of self-help groups and initiating income generation programs (IGP). Tamil Nadu was also the first state to form a transgender welfare board with representatives from the transgender community. Kerala started providing free surgery in the government hospitals in 2016. A transgender board was established in Chandigarh on 22 August 2017. The board comprises members from the police department, the social welfare department, the education department and the law department, healthcare professionals and representatives of Punjab University and others. On 28 November 2017, N. Chandrababu Naidu, the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh, announced the enactment of pension plans for the transgender people. On 16 October 2017, the Andhra Cabinet passed the policy. According to the policy, the state government will provide an amount of 1,500 per month to each transgender person above the age of 18 for social security pensions. The government will also construct special toilets in public places such as malls and cinema halls for transgender people. In addition, the state has also established a transgender welfare board in 2016. The Uttarakhand High Court directed the state government in late September 2018 to provide reservation for transgender people in education institutions and to frame social welfare programs for the betterment of transgender people. In August 2019, the state of Madhya Pradesh announced its intention to set up a welfare board for the transgender community in the near future. Issues will include a monthly allowance to parents of intersex children, provisions for job reservations for transgender persons in government and several public toilets.
In 2004, Human Rights Watch became the first mainstream international human rights organization to create an LGBT rights program. For the past 15 years, we have exposed abuses committed against LGBT people around the globe, from killings and torture to police harassment, censorship, and discrimination in healthcare, jobs, and housing. Our projects are carried out with extensive research and work with local partners.
I was beaten by 4 police officers in a pharmacy in Kingston in front of over 200 people. I went to live in hiding, and a man said to me, "We've found you, and we're going to kill you." I didn't go back home. No one deserved to be hunted and chased out of their homeland.
Chechen law enforcement and security officials have been rounding up gay men as part of an apparent anti-gay purge. They're beaten, they're electrocuted, and under torture they're forced to provide names of other gay individuals.
The Supreme Court has read down Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, which criminalized consensual same-sex relations.
All this journey of 30 years is worth it.
Today's decision will resonate around the world and will give strength and hope to communities who are fighting for equality.
Presently, 69 countries have laws that criminalize people on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. At Human Rights Watch, we strive to promote equality, dignity, and respect for all, and to make sure that the world embraces the idea that LGBT rights are human rights.
What is the future of LGBT rights? State your opinion on the future. Globally, attitudes to LGBT are changing. Homosexuality is slowly becoming more accepted around, particularly among more secular and affluent countries. Young people under 30 are more tolerant of LGBT than older generation. So, we need to accept that we are all human, and due to basic human rights, we all want the same things. Acceptance and expression, life pursuits, happiness. And let's be aware of everyone being hated and discriminated. No forms of hate or violence are okay. What if your child is born an LGBT? Would you want them to be discriminated or attacked? Let us practice acceptance for our surrounding humans who, like us, are just born. What would I like to conclude in this project is, at the end of the day, you are not in the control of laws, decisions of others or change, but you are in the control of yourself and do influence others and the future.